G'day and welcome to the GameDay Squad NRL Fantasy Show. I'm Dyl, that's Stu, and we are the Fantasy Bros. We are excited to once again be partnering with GameDay Squad to bring you everything you need to know this season for GameDay Squad Rugby League in 2026. Thank you to everyone that is tuning in. It is obviously a much earlier time slot that we are now coming to you at 6 p.m. In real time, in Queensland time. But thank you to everyone joining us as well. Look, we were teased with two really good games in Vegas, weren't we? That nail biter in that second game was unreal. A couple of dodgy calls meant the Dragons, who put up a big fight, just were pipped at the post. But what a weekend we've already had. But now we turn to the rest of the full slate, and I am so keen. Look, the other key thing for us is that we've got a massive show on Sunday as well. We've got the FantasyBros Sunday Showdown coming to you live on Sunday, as well as the Stats Lab prime time that is debuting tomorrow night. So remember, the prime time is Thursday, Friday night slates, and then the Sunday show is Sundays. Stu, welcome, mate. It is Wednesday. You know what that means. Teamless Tuesday has dropped. There's plenty of news to talk about, but it's time to take a deep dive into the players that matter. How you going, mate?
Yeah, g'day, Dyl. G'day, viewers. G'day, listeners. Yeah, a bit of a taste for footy on Sunday, wasn't it? Not quite enough to fully whet that appetite, but there were some very good games. Nonetheless, we've got 6 games, obviously, starting tomorrow night to round out round 1. I think some coaches who see themselves on the leaderboards will be trying to stay there, and a few other coaches who maybe didn't start as well will be looking to get up on a couple of decent picks this week to make a rise up that leaderboard. So hopefully we can steer viewers and listeners into a couple of those selections. So yeah, we'll be coming live to you all every single Wednesday evening, a little bit earlier, like Dill said, at 6 p.m. Obviously, if you can't make it during that time, if you were a regular at about that 7 o'clock time slot, you might be able to catch up on our YouTube channel, on Apple or Spotify the next morning. So you won't miss out on too much at all, just apart from the bit of a banter in the chat and your opportunity to get your vote in for BroDown ShowDown nice and early. So we are on Apple, we are on Spotify. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube as well, so you can keep up with anything that you do miss out on. Yeah, Sunday is going to be pretty exciting as well. First time that we'll be going live twice during the week. We'll be analysing everything Sunday Showdown related, and there's some excellent prizes available for that competition as well. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to all of our socials. Again, that's on Apple, Spotify, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. And make sure you head over to the Fantasy Bros website. That's www.fantasybrosau.com. We got some new merch there. We've got that fantasy textbook as well that I think was a bit of a hit, and some people who bought that got some pretty awesome packs as a result of that purchase too.
Yeah, and talking about packs, look, it's not too late to get involved with GameDay Squad. Obviously, we've missed the Vegas games, but that doesn't mean it's too late. You can still build a squad for this weekend. All you need to do is simply download the app or head to the GameDay Squad website. Create your account. As you're doing so, you'll see a spot where you can put the promo code in. Our promo code is FBRL26. You're going to be rewarded with 3x9 player common packs just for doing that. Once you've signed up, you've got a whole lot of little challenges that you do that you can complete in that first instance, and you are rewarded with packs every time you complete one of those challenges. The last challenge is, once you've done all of those, you get another 3x9 player common packs as well. So plenty of opportunities to build a pretty good squad for your starter, your contender, potentially even the classic competition, as well as potentially some of the special competitions as well. There's over $5,000 worth of cash each and every week that is given away, plus all of those packs to continue building your dynasty. Look, that's each and every NRL round for the whole season. So perfect time to sign up now. Come and join us and have a heap of fun. Make sure you collect your cards, coach your team to victory, compete against some of the best that the fantasy gods have to offer. Look, mate, we're getting close to getting involved in some breakdown. Do you want to talk through to everyone what our weekly Wednesday shows look like? We'll obviously touch on a little bit of Sunday as well, but what do our Wednesday shows look like for anyone that's new here?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Every Wednesday, we'll preview who we think are the best plays across each of the positions. So we'll start from the hooker position and we'll roll right down to the fullback position, and we'll sort of discuss who we think are the important starts, and we'll give our opinions on why some players might be sit options or fade options as well. Each episode will also reveal our consensus all bronze starter squad. So maybe some new users can do a bit of a copy paste, or maybe choose the one or two pods that they'll go against us and see if they can get one up on us in terms of the consensus rankings team. We'll touch on a couple of key under 24 players as well, given that that under 24 competition is now live as well. And gee, some of those under 24 guns started really nicely last Sunday in Vegas as well. Of course, we'll plug both the Stats Lab Primetime Comp, which kicks off tomorrow night with the Storm and the Eels. And of course, we'll touch on a number of players on Sunday, where you and I will both be previewing the Sunday showdown this week. Just the one match between the Dolphins and the Rabbitohs, but most weeks we should have those two Sunday games. So I'll have a bit more opportunity to select from players, but we're just restricted to the two teams here. We've also, of course, got our BroDown ShowDown segment. If you're new and you don't know what that means, hang around. At the very end, Dyl and I go head-to-head for the week upcoming, and the loser has to give away a couple of cards to both viewers and the other person, depending on how many times they lost the competition. So anyone who voted last week, and you'll get some cards today. But we also had a massive preseason giveaway. There's that of prizes to give away. So in addition to all of our round one chat, we've got to give away plenty of prizes. Should we jump into the first giveaway and then get into some of that discussion?
Yeah, definitely. Let's jump into the first giveaway, but also keep your comments coming in. We're going to get to a few people's comments in a moment. On screen, you can see all of the cards and packs that we are giving away. So let's get straight into it, and let's do the first draw. And the Unreal card for this one is obviously the Adam Fanor-Blake Diamond there, which just looks unreal, and it's going to look great there. As you can see, coming up on screen is the massive wheel. No wonder it's taking a while to load. Because this wheel is huge. Remember, to get involved, you had to comment on our pre-season games. Our pre-season content around the different team previews, as well as the under 24. And then you could get yourself on. You also could have bought the textbook, and you would have got an extra entry. Look, it's still loading. It's that the chalk is. It's hard to see everyone. Hopefully, we're going to get it on screen in a moment. So bear with us, please. Oh, here we go. It's coming. Here it comes. Nothing like live, being on live to get us sorted. Alrighty. Hopefully we can see that on screen. Stu, do you have it there on your screen?
Yeah, I got you, mate. Yeah.
Beauty. All right, get into it. Let's shuffle twice and let's spin it. So this is the first pack with the big marquee card of Adam Fanor-Blake Diamond. And our winner of that is going to be our man Izzy. Izzy, congratulations! That's a huge win there.
It's nice. Make sure you
hit me up over on Discord or Instagram, and we can sort that out.
We might have Izzy in the chat at the moment as well.
Alrighty, that's the first one. We've got to come throughout the show though, so please stick around. Some of those prizes. Chat. As soon as we load back in, we might be able to see. Alrighty, here we go. And my stream really does not like that wheel, that's for sure. Alrighty, let's jump in. Look, while we're waiting for it to load, we're obviously going to jump into hookers, but let's break down the forward positioning first. Now, the forwards, remember, for those that have been around a while, you know how it works. For anyone that's new, we've got one hooker, we've got three middles and two edges that are on field. Plus, we've got a combination on the bench. We can play any two from those positions. You and I generally sort of look for one consistent middle and then maybe a bit of an upside in an edge position. But everyone has free reign in terms of how they play that combination. So, is there anyone in particular that you're looking at that you think, yeah, we've got to get them into our side straight away? And who's that going to be, Stu?
Yeah, are we allowed to rewind and put Damien Cook into our sides? I think coaches who started him last Sunday in Vegas, they'll be absolutely thrilled with his big 92 points. And they don't have to sit here with a bit of a selection headache to pick from one of those players on the screen. But unfortunately, I was not a Cook owner. So it's going to be between Harry Grant and Blake Brayley for me. Boring, I know, but look, there's a reason that those two are going to be quite popular this week. And look, Brayley finished atop the hooker averages last year with 52. And look, Grant's done it for plenty of seasons prior. He had a bit of a down year, sub 50 average, but there's a lot of those missed tackles, and he didn't quite find the attacking stats that he normally would. The Storm outfit looks a little bit different this year with no Pappenhausen. So maybe this is the year that we see a bit of positive regression there from Harry Grant in the number 9 jersey. I want to see it first. Look, Blake Brayley did it for a lot of last season. He really peaked during the middle of the year when he picked up his running game, and that just saw his points tally skyrocket in the right direction. And his average in the second half of the season was a lot better than his average in the first half of the season. So I'm hoping that we see a bit more second half season Blake Brayley. So really tough to sort of know what we'll see from a lot of teams, given this is round 1. They're probably going to be shaking out a lot of pre-season. Look, things really won't click until round, 4, 5, 6 maybe. So going for the safety in Blake Brayley is going to be a simple decision for me in that hooker position. They've got the Titans side minus Jaden Campbell. He's obviously suffered that mild injury, probably out for 2 to 4 weeks. But I think that just means that the Sharkies are going to run rampant over the Titans. They're going to score plenty of points, and we know that Blake Brayley is creative and smart enough close to the line, and he's probably going to have a hand in a couple of attacking stats at least, if not a try himself. So, yeah, there's no chance I'll be looking at a second hooker position. I'd love to be able to say I've got Damien Cook sitting in there, but I think Blake Brayley, we saw what he did last year. Pretty simple plug and play there for me again this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really simple one, as you said. Blake Brayley's obviously just an elite hooker. The one that I'm a bit upset about is my man Jake Simpkin. He's someone that's really high on my list. I've been very vocal about him all off season, and in the hope that he's going to play 80. But that Joey Walsh naming of him in the 14 jersey, just unsure about what those minutes look like for Simpkin. If we do see 80, we know that he's going to be an absolute elite player in that hooker role. Last 5 games of last season, he finished with an average of 52.8. He played 80 minutes across all of those 5. That 52.8 is better than Blake Brayley, by the way. So only just, but it's a 5-game sample size, which is a pretty good sample size for me. The previous 17 games last season for Jake Simpkin, he only averaged 35 GDS points. A lot of those were coming off the bench. So it's going to be tough to know exactly how many minutes he's going to get. I'm going to take the safe side at the moment and play the Blake Brayley, but he's just going to stay on my radar. And I mean, if he gets that 80 minutes, I think it's really easy for me to plug and play Jake Simpkin most weeks. The interesting thing, if someone is keen to take the risk, you could be rewarded. The Raiders last season gave an average of 40.7 GDS points to all hookers, and that was the 3rd highest from all the teams against hookers. So there is an opportunity there for Jake Simpkin to score well. It's just going to be whether he has those minutes or not. But yeah, the safe option is obviously the Blake Brayley. The Harry Grant option is, I think, a decent one as well. Obviously, the downside is potentially what that spine's going to look like and how that's going to play. We don't quite know what the removal of the man who shall not be named is going to do for the side and what that's going to look like. But, Grant's always good for his sort of 30 to 60 tackles, his 50-plus running meters. The issue, obviously, for him is his ability to miss tackles pretty easily. Last season, he averaged 3.6 missed tackles per game, which for those people that knew, that's 11 points in demerits that you lose with Harry Grant's missed tackle rate. So if you want the safety, go on Blake Brayley. If you want a little bit of upside, maybe Harry Grant. If you want a lot of upside but a lot of risk, then I'd be going with Simpkin.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see what does play out there at Manly. There was even talk about Luke Brooks saying he's more than happy to move to accommodate Joey Walsh, and he said that he's happy to play hooker if need be. So does that spell even more of an issue there for Jake Simpkin? I don't know if Lukey Brooks moves to the bench and you just have a half swap there. So yeah, there's going to be some funny buggers being played at Manly. Cooper Cronk's just come out and said that he expects Joey Walsh to play just about the entire season. You don't know how that's going to happen from 14 and how much of a role he'll have, but Greg Alexander's also said he would have been a Wallaby as early as this year had he stayed at Union. So obviously supremely talented. Manly know that. They're going to want to get him involved somewhere. Let's just see what impact it has on your man Simpkin. Don't play him this week. Reassess for next week.
Yeah. Look, to be honest, Luke Brooks, he can just go back to Tigers and the Tigers can deal with him, I think. I think I'd much prefer that. Have Joey Walsh in the halves and have Jake Simpkin playing the full 80. Look, I did say we we're going to get back to some comments. So it's great to see a whole lot of people in here commenting. Look, Michael Cozzi was here much earlier than everyone else, and he got in nice and early to let everyone know that he's currently 2nd in starter, 3rd in contender, 13th in classic, and 4th in the under-24s. Mate, did you just play almost everyone from that the weekend's games just gone? obviously there's plenty of opportunities for catch up, but hopefully for Michael Cossey's sake, we steer him into a couple of good ones, and he has pretty good round one. Plenty of new faces here as well. Tracy Wall. I don't know if I've seen that name before, so welcome, Tracy. Giving Michael Cossey a bit of a congrats there as well. Great to see. And it looks like our one of our good mates, Skip, has arrived. Sup, fellas? Skipper, how you doing, mate? Hopefully,
G'day, Skip.
You are doing well, and give you a couple of good wins. We'll keep going. If you've got any questions, any start sit questions that you might have, we might be able to get to those. So put them in the chat as well. All right, let's jump across to the middles. And look, coaches already probably have played the Toby Couchman potentially in that middle. So we're looking at maybe three or four middles that we might be looking at, depending on what that rotation is going to look like. I think for me, there's two out of the three big three that I guess we talk about in Haas, Yo, and May. Two of them are available this weekend, and I think two of them, to be honest, are just going to be absolute locks for me. Payne Haas, Yo, I don't see any reason not to play them. If anything, Payne Haas is going to take up a lot of salary in a lot of my the lower tiered competitions. And then it's just an argument about who joins them. Obviously, no Tyrrell May with that on the bye. Are we looking at someone like the AFBs, the Tinos of the world? Or are we trying to look somewhere different? I know based on earlier posts from Cal, he put up some selection percentages, and AFB is currently the third most picked middle forward in teams at the moment, with the third highest percent. Last season, he averaged 55 minutes on the field, and he finished with just under 1 point per minute, which is great output. But the question marks are probably twofold for me. It's first, AFB only managed 3 games above 60 minutes last season during the regular season. We kind of knew that would be the case based on all the discussions that were happening. But is he going to continue that sort of 55-minute average, or is it going to increase? I don't see a world where it does increase because of the stacked bench. Look, 5 of the 6 players on the bench are front rowers or potentially an edge as well, but can play in the front row. So I think for me, there's potential loss of minutes there for AFB as well. He received less than 50 minutes across a number of times in the game in the season last season. And when he receives less than 50 minutes, he only scores around 40 GS points. So if we see anything like that, where his minutes drop below 50, I'm going to be super concerned. It actually happened 6 times, and he averaged 38 GS points exactly. So, yeah, I'm really concerned about that. Is that something that you're concerned about as well, Stu? And are you going to look somewhere else for that third middle, or is it going to be just a simple plug and play of Adam Fanu-Blake at the moment based on that Titans matchup?
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a theme, I think, tonight's show and probably the next couple of weeks as well, discussing, what sort of role and minutes these middle forwards have with the extended bench, and the coach being able to name 6 players, but only able to use 4 of them. It'll obviously, introduce a whole new sort of concept of coaching and see how they use their little men or their outside backs, and see what impact a back injury or back going down early, and see what that does to the forward rotation. And there'll be times where it pays off heavily, pays off really nicely for a bloke like Adam Fanu-Blake that does need bigger minutes to score well. I can't get there in round 1. I expect the Sharkies to use 4 big men off the bench, with Blake Brayley going the full 80. Again, it's just the question mark around what they do if a back goes down injured. Maybe it's a Nickero into the centres. Billy Burns, they've got some options. But yeah, look, Adam Fanu-Blake has been relevant in the past when he's been scoring tries, or when he sort of stays in a bit of a grind and gets some extra minutes in a close game. I see this game being anything but close, which gives more sort of reason to the fact that Adam Fanu-Blake might see lesser minutes. I can't imagine the Titans are going to compete with the Sharkies unless the Sharks are well off their game, meaning Adam Fanu-Blake's going to spend probably a bit extra time on the bench. So I was pretty happy to see him at the 3rd highest played player, given that I'm looking to avoid him and look elsewhere, just because time on park is probably going to be a little bit less. Look, if he comes out and pumps out 65 to 70 minutes and that looks like a thing for the future, I'll be changing my tune very quickly. I just can't see it happening. So with that in mind, there are a few blokes I do like ahead of Adam Fanu-Blake. I'll start with Tino, and then I'll get to 2 others that we'll actually see tomorrow night. I'm not expecting massive things from Tino necessarily in round 1, given, first game of the season. He's a middle forward that relies on a bit of a motor and hasn't had a lot of, pre-season match fitness, that sort of thing. But just his move to the number 10 jersey following the loss of Jermaine Jolliffe, And the size of that pack for the Titans in terms of, both, experience and body size is, looking pretty poor at the moment. They don't have a very good pack around Tino, and he's the leader. He's the man amongst boys, really, in the rest of that pack. So, lack of size, lack of experience. It wouldn't surprise me to see him, wanting to be out on the field for 70 or more minutes. He's definitely capable, probably more so mid-season when he's got a bit of match fitness under his belt. But look, he averaged just shy of 60 minutes last season, and while his fantasy numbers weren't amazing, that in some games it was sort of all up to the backs, with Jaden Campbell being creative and the ball shifting wide and that sort of thing. With no Jaden Campbell here, I think the Titans are going to find this matchup very difficult. But you just know Tino's going to keep trucking the ball up. He's going to keep giving his all, and he's an out-and-out leader. He's a true leader. He's going to rack up plenty of tackles against the Sharkies that are going to have a lot of possession. He'll probably fall off a few and lose -3 here and there. But honestly, if he gets between 60 and 70 minutes, it wouldn't shock me whatsoever. If he wants to stay on the park for 80, that wouldn't surprise either. I just can't see it happening round one. For that fact, he's not going to be in all of my teams. I just think there's a little bit of upside given how poor that pack is, and the Titans just simply need him out on the field.
Yeah. I feel a little bit burnt by Tino after last season. He had some really great games playing 65, 70 minutes. And then he followed it up with a 21, for example, in round 16 after, with 37 minutes off the bench. I feel a little bit burnt. I agree that, he's got to stand up. He's got to be a leader in that Titans side. But I feel like, again, it's going to be a theme of the season where the Titans, we're just going to talk about how poor I think that the whole team of the Titans are going to be. They're obviously in this phase where they've got a lot of new young blokes. They've got a smaller side, and I feel like it's going to be let's target the Titans most weeks. So for me, I'm not looking at Tino, but you talked about two other players that potentially are going to go head to head tomorrow night that I'm actually really interested in. One of them being Jermaine Hopgood. Talk to us about the potential of Hopgood being a regular again in our GDS sides after losing the hot coat so long ago.
Yeah, look, he burst onto the scene, didn't he, in his debut season? He was just an absolute must, getting through massive tackle numbers, carting the ball up and trying to push and offload just about every time he made a carry. That's sort of, we lost a bit of that last season, and he became fairly irrelevant and wasn't really in anyone's discussion until he had a really nice back end of the season where his role became a little bit more certain. He was no longer, playing hooker, filling in on the edge, off the bench. He was just playing in that middle prop position and regularly getting scores of above 50. He got 5 scores of 50 in a row to finish the season, and 2 of those scores were above 60 as well. And all of that was in work rate, just through his tackle numbers, his runs, and with his runs, he's always going to break a tackle or two and try to force an offload. Hopefully, he's got license to offload at will, because it really does create some really good second phase for the Eels. And look, if they're to compete against a fantastic round one side like the Melbourne Storm, they're probably going to need to push a few and chance their arm a little bit. And he's the go-to guy for that. So, the last 5 games last season certainly instilled a little bit of confidence to show that he is certainly capable. It just, probably just depends on his minutes and how long he spends out there in the middle and how many other middle forwards are used. Ideally, we want to see him, getting that 60 minutes. 65 would be amazing. So he's not my number one confident pick for tomorrow night. I'd probably go someone on the other side of the scrum. But have you got any love for Hopgood before we talk about the Melbourne Storm enforcer?
Yeah, probably not for the full round or the full slate of games, but I'm really keen to get Hopgood into my side for the Stats Lab prime time, where we've got the Thursday and Friday night games. So obviously the Eels and Storm kick that off tomorrow night. I think he's going to be one of the first picked in my side. I might even put a little bit of salary on him just to try and boost it up. Obviously, with the prime time, it is unlimited salary. So if you can fit in a diamond Hopgood in that side, I think it's going to be absolute barnstorming for you. But I agree. I'm actually pretty keen on there's someone on the other side of the team or on the opposition in terms of Stefano. I think could have a massive season. Obviously, a couple of losses there. The Ali Katoa loss is big, but obviously might not impact Stefano as much. But I'm really keen to see how he goes, because he had some really good games and he became a bit of a pod in that middle forward rotation there for a lot of coaches last season. Is that someone as well that you're really keen on, or are we just looking at him for the stats lab?
Oh, absolutely in prime time. But yeah, he'll probably get a start in at least one of my sides as well, just in case he has one of those big blow-up scores that, look, I don't think many people are going to get to him in any other competition other than the Stats Lab primetime competition. And look, if he does have a massive game tomorrow night, he'll be pretty popular, in weeks to come, I imagine. We just have to look back to the round one of the finals last season where he went absolutely nuclear against the Doggies, scored 95 GDS points in 54 minutes without a try. He broke 14 tackles and threw 4 offloads. That just shows you the ceiling that this type of bloke has. And the back end of that season, he was regularly breaking 4 or 6 tackles per match. And that's a handy 12 to 15 points on top of the regular run meters and tackle numbers as well. So Harry Grant knows that he's got a big bloke there who probably has had a lot of hype in terms of, some state of origin selection, that sort of thing, not necessarily really lived up to that yet. Maybe this is the season he takes an extra jump and Harry really forms a nice combination with him close to the line, and we see him falling over for a few more as well. So yeah, there's going to be a Stefano breakout game at some point where he goes massive, and we want to play him again the following week and hope for a repeat. I'm going to try to jump the gun a little bit and predict it in round one.
Mate, if he can get 14 tackle breaks against the Eels, you are absolutely laughing, especially without a try. 14 tackle breaks without getting over the line is ridiculous. But yeah, look, that is obviously for those new 3 points for a tackle break. So most of that 95 was made up in tackle breaks. I've got one more quickly. I know we spent probably way too long on middle forwards, way longer than we normally do, so I apologise. But I've got one more for you, and that is Cameron Murray. We obviously see his return from a long-term injury. He did play the one game at the end of the season. He only managed 23-odd minutes and scored 17 GDS points. So I think we just put a line through his 2025 completely. We wind back the clock pre-injury to, we go and have a look at, say, 2022 to 2024. He was averaging around that 55 to 56 GDS points, which is pretty elite for a middle forward playing that sort of ball-playing role that Cameron Murray has. And look, I think I can expect something similar from Murray. 40-plus tackles, 100-plus running meters, a couple of tackle breaks, maybe a little try assist or a line break assist here and there, as I said, playing that sort of that link role in the lock. There's obviously some great options in the middle. The question mark is how long does he stay on the park for, and especially with the new rotation rules, etc. I'm quite keen to take a punt on him, though, because I know that most coaches probably have overlooked him or underlooked because they haven't scrolled that far down their list because they've sorted by average, and his average is way down. So I'm sort of tossing up between Cameron Murray and Stefano Udecamano at the moment about that last spot, just depending on sort of those matchups. So it'll probably come down to maybe tomorrow night, just before the teams are named, or just after the teams are named, and I make that final decision. But it's Cameron Murray I really like, and I'm really interested to see how he goes this season.
Yeah, don't mind that at all. I'll touch on a couple of other bunnies during the edge forward position. I don't think I can get to Cam Murray myself round one, but yeah, if he shows some signs of getting back to 2022, 2023 form, he'll be a must pretty quickly. And if you can jump the gun as well and get on him early, then you'd just be laughing. Yeah,
definitely. Alrighty, let's move on. That's enough for the middle forwards. We've still obviously got plenty of positions, but we also have plenty of giveaways. I'm going to try again and spin this wheel. Hopefully my computer allows me to do it a bit quicker. The next up, we've got the second draw there, which you can see on screen. We've got a Diamond Jackson Purdue. Obviously had a pretty decent start to his season with the Cowboys, and hopefully he's just going to go from strength to strength. Pretty happy for him to stay in that centre position and not move to the halves, although the Cowboys have obviously got a bit of work to do after that weekend just gone where the Knights actually upset them, which I'm quite happy to see. But let's wheel. Hopefully it loads in a second. If it doesn't, we might have to move on, and we will have to draw it off screen. All right, here we go. I think we've got it. I think we're good.
Yeah, it's been on screen for a while, but you're like freezing and lagging a lot. But yeah, it's on screen, so you should be able to spin it, and we can get a winner for round 2.
All right, go. All righty, good luck, everyone. Is going to be J Torres 420F. That is you. Make sure you get hold of us on Discord, Facebook, wherever. Just search at FantasyBros AU. We will be able to get those cards out to you. Congratulations to Jay. Alrighty, let's move on to the edge position. Continuing with those forwards, and we'll come back to some more spins later. Into the edge position, and number one player for me who hasn't played yet is that man David Fafita. Obviously, we've got a couple of players that are probably spots in your edge position in terms of Lucas and Preston, and both of them are unreal game. But for me, it's all about David Fafita. He is my foe for 2026. In the textbook, I'm clear that I am planting my flag with David Fafita, and he's my man this season. He impressed in that first run at the trials, didn't he? First touch of the ball, he broke a couple of break, and he was just doing it for fun. So I'm pretty keen to see how he goes in a the first proper hit out. That left side is going to be absolutely deadly for sure for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Sunday afternoon at Suncorp, it's going to see plenty of points up for grabs. Fafita should be massively involved as well. Look, I'm a massive David Fafita guy, and I just hope that he has he meets those expectations that we expect. And we probably have to go all the way back to sort of 2024, 2023, where he dominated and where we sort of want to see those stats again. He was averaging 60 GDS points, and he was one of the top edge forwards in those couple of years. And look, that averaging 60 GDS points across 2 years is just absolutely phenomenal. He now comes up against the Finns. The Finns are pretty good at leaking some points to that left edge, allowing 40 GDS points to left side edge forwards in 2025. He's also played the Finns 3 times in his career, David Fafita. He's at 150. He's averaging 150 run meters, 33 tackles, 5 tackle breaks, and 2 offloads per game. I would take that. That's an average of 62 GDS points. Anything on top of that is just absolutely unreal. So please join me in planting my flag, your flag, on the big David Fafita, as Tommy calls him. Get around him. Here's my go edge forward this season.
Absolutely. Do we see a 2023, 2024 average of 60 points? Gee, that would be incredible. And a massive turnaround from his well below par season last year, where it just seemed like him and footy weren't mixing. Yeah, I think he's definitely going to be a superstar at some point this season. Does it happen from round one? Who knows? But yeah, I can't leave him out of all of my sides. I don't know if he'll play in all of them. But yeah, I definitely, it's going to be a tough watch if you don't have David Fafita in your side Sunday arvo. If the sun's shining, I know we're expecting a little bit of weather here in Brizzy. That will, make things a little bit more difficult for point scoring if it is, if the conditions don't suit. But that even probably just makes him a little bit more slippery and even harder to tackle, to be honest. He provides plenty of upside, but it's his teammate, the guy in the middle of the field, that's going to provide a lot of stability. And like you mentioned with Cam Murray, we're going to see a lot of work through the middle. And look, there's every chance of them scoring some points through the middle. The Dolphins have allowed plenty of tries to be scored against in the past as well. So alongside Dave Fafita in the edge forward position, I'll be looking to play Keon Koloamatangi as well in a number of teams. And I really hope we can see the form that he showed sort of midway through last season when he had that number 10 jersey on his back. He's back on in the middle of the field. He's wasted as an edge forward, let's be honest. He just doesn't get involved enough. And his game through the middle is just so unreal. He can get through so much work, and he does it so well. It's a bit like Terrell May, but it just doesn't go about it as fancy or talk about it for the next 3 days online or on his podcast. He's had scores of 89 and 92 during the mid-season, found a try in both of those games as well. So not only does he get through plenty of work, but he can also be pretty dangerous close to the try line. Look, the Rabbitohs bench is probably really important to note here, and a reason why him, and if Cam Murray's good and ready to go, there's no reason why both of them can't see at least 70 minutes. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if we see Keon push 80 minutes. He's done it before with the number 10 on his back. Here's the bench very quickly. Peter Mamazelos, who we know will spend some time at hooker. Tallis Duncan played plenty of time on the edge last year. Hubner and Kepi, can both play through the middle, but they're only small minute guys. Yeah. They've then got the half in Jaden Sullivan and the centre in Graham Talfa. So there's not a lot of size there in terms of middle forwards. There's not a lot of depth coverage. If Bennett does run with that 14 through 19 and they don't make a late change with a LeBlanc or a Tommy Fletcher or someone coming on, gee, that just spells big minutes, I think, for Keon, particularly since we've seen him do it time and time again in the past. So not only do I think he brings plenty of stability in terms of his minutes and therefore base through tackles and run meters, but he's every chance of finding the trial as well against, let's be honest, a Dolphins team that's very exciting, but not very good in terms of defence, and a couple of blokes coming back from injury, a couple of new players lining up in new positions and that sort of thing. Let's hope the weather's good, plenty of points. Give us a Fafita and Kaloa-Matangi double, please.
Oh, definitely. And look, you just have to go back to that preseason game that the Dolphins played against the Warriors, where I think about 70 points were scored between them. And it just shows that the Dolphins defense wasn't really up to scratch. But look, g'day to Nathan here. He knows that I'm a big Fafita guy. And he's also said that Wayne's definitely sprinkling some magic at South all over Fafita. I really hope that's the case.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like good things are happening there at South. Look, the other is that I don't want to spend too much time talking about, because we probably don't need to. And he was a lock pretty much every week in our teams, and that's Hudson Young. He's obviously benefit from the Matty Nicholson not being named in the side. You had some mail potentially around Matty Nicholson just biding his time, just sort of a bit of recovery there before he's going to make his way back into the side. Hudson Young, is he a player that we're looking at, or it's still slightly on the edge of not quite making our sides, just based on that new halves combination at the Raiders?
Yeah, that's the big thing, isn't it? We spoke about it in the preseason. Ethan Strange is going to move over to the right-hand side of the field to partner. Well, it would have been Matty Nicholson, just sort of getting a bit more time through Cup and not having the physicality of NRL in front of him. So Noah Martin's time there on the right edge is probably fairly limited, but it's just the new combination with Hudson Young, with Ethan Sanders inside him, a very talented footballer in his own right. But look, a big reason for Hudson Young's success was because of Ethan Strange inside him, and not only Strange's ball playing, but Strange had really nice footwork, was really powerful himself, could, sniff a bit of a hole, get through the line, poke his head through, or, get a nice little offload there from Hudson Young. It's going to take a bit of time to click with Ethan Sanders. I think the ball's going to go to the right side of the field a little bit more often. And so I think Matty Nicholson is going to get a nice run in our under 24 sides. It's just a shame that he wasn't named round one. He's still nursing that shoulder complaint. But yeah, I think we should see some big minutes from Matty Nicholson in the weeks to come. And no Hudson Young for me round one, if he shows that he can still do it with a different halves partner inside him. Yeah, look, he was just an easy plug and play, given so much attacking upside last season.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. I think I've got him in one side just as a bit of a pod play compared to a couple of others. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, for me, I'm on the same. Alrighty, let's jump into the halves. And look, I'm just going to let everyone know we're going to do the preseason giveaway off song to get that wheel loaded. There are too many names on that wheel, so we might even jump over onto the Discord stage a little bit later, or maybe tomorrow, just before kickoff, and we'll do that on there. So apologies to everyone. But we'll make sure we definitely get your cards out to you as soon as possible. All right, let's jump into the halves. And look, obviously, the big news out of yesterday is Jaden Campbell set to miss a case with that hammy injury. We haven't really played a half. Maybe some people would have played Fletcher Sharp. So there's still an opportunity where we can play two on the field, one on the bench in our halves position. Nathan Cleary, obviously, of GameDay Squad. There's no reason why you wouldn't play him, so just lock him into your side. From there, who are your next two that you're looking at, Stu? And surely one of them has to be Nicho Hynes.
Yeah, it will be Nicho Hynes. I think it was really tough pre-Jaden Campbell's injury. It was really tough finding 3 spots between 4 blokes. And the man to miss out there was Isaiah Katoa. I think he's going to have some big games at some point, and he certainly can go big this week. But I just thought there was a bit of a gap between Cleary, Hynes, Sammy Walker, and Jaden Campbell before the injury. So that injury to JC, despite him being in all of my teams, it's actually made my selections in the halves a lot easier. Look, it's tough to go into any week without a Nathan Cleary card in your side. So if you've got one, I definitely recommend putting that in. Big difference there for me between Hynes and Walker over the likes of Isaiah Katoa, despite their averages being, Hynes and Katoa being really similar. Katoa even having a better average than Sammy Walker last season. Obviously, Walker came back from injury. Roosters a lot better this year, better combination there with Angus Crichton. We saw how damaging he was in the trial. I think Sammy Walker's in for a massive year as per the Roosters. So I've got him just over Isaiah Katoa. The big difference between those 3 names and Katoa is those halves they all do a lot of the similar things. They get plenty of points in base through work rate, tackles, run meters. They obviously are very creative. They kick the footy a lot. But those three boys kick goals and kick conversions as well. With Jermaine Asako such a sharpshooter for the Dolphins, Isaiah Katoa hasn't needed to kick goals whatsoever. He's kicked for his country, but Asako is not just a sharpshooter, but he's pretty durable as well. He hasn't really suffered, any sort of short or long-term injury that's given Katoa a substantial time with the kicking tee. And look, he'll certainly be the next man up if anything does happen to Asako, and then the conversation becomes a lot more difficult. But it's probably just that safety in round one where Hines, Cleary, Walker will step up with the tee in their hand and knock over a couple of extra threes. Although Katoa could match them in base, I think that's just where they get that little bit of an edge. And without JC, it just makes those three selections, for me, a little bit easier.
Yeah, obviously Izzy Katoa is going to be one of the key players for our under-24 side, as well as Sammy Walker there as well. Izzy Katoa also part of the Sunday showdown, so we could see him lining up for a number of our squads. Look, I'm a little bit disappointed in you, mate. I threw to you with the Nico Hines so that I didn't have to talk about my man crush because I get enough flack on this show from our viewers about how much I'm obsessed with Nico, but you just wouldn't do it. So here I am. I'm going to talk about my man crush. It's been an absolute long off season without being able to talk about him. But hey, I did go and buy a book. I purchased a book about Nico Hines' life. It's called Stand Proud. It's a kid's book, so I bought it for my son, technically. But mate, it's a great read. Look, I digress. Finally, it's time for Nico Hines to absolutely shine. I think the big thing for me is, obviously, the Titans, we're going to have a lot of points. That's in no doubt. And Nico Hines is going to have a lot to do with it. But the thing for me that we talked about all off-season is the Sharks makeup. The fact that they haven't really lost any players. They haven't really gained any players, except a couple of minor injuries that we're going to see, players return throughout the season. Their squad, their side is pretty much locked down as it was from last season. So I think that's going to be a massive plus for the Sharks and then for Nico as well. We know those combinations. We know how well they work. So I think we know what to expect from him. Talking about the goal kicking as well, we know that he has that upside in goal kicking. We see an additional 9 to 12 sort of points per game. Sharks averaged 4 tries last season per game. So we know we're going to get approximately 12 points additionally on top of whatever Nico Hines is able to provide. The other thing for me, we go back to last season's games, and Nico was able to score 61.4 GDS points against the Titans. And that has been a theme across all of his seasons. He's able to average around that across every game that he's played against the Titans. That includes 2 games of over 80 points since 2021 against the Titans. So plenty of upside for Nico, and I'm really keen just to see him and his luscious hair back in action this NRL season. Get around him.
Yeah, you won't be alone. I think there'll be a lot of Hines truthers, a lot of Hines lovers. Once again this year, Mel says, yeah, sure, you bought it for your son, aka bought it for yourself, but you might let your son read once you've read it 3 or 4 times. Harley may get a look at it himself. But yeah, look, disappointing news from Jaden Campbell. Sucks for the Gold Coast Titans. But look, wheels up, Cronulla Sharkies. Nico Hines is, look, if the trials are anything to go by, he looks like he's got a bit more better role there with his combination with Braden Trindle, demanding the ball a little bit more frequently, getting it when he wanted it, and pretty active on both sides of the field, which we absolutely love to see. We hate when he just parks himself on the right. Let's hope we get that roaming Nico Hines. And yeah, look, he might be the top scoring half this week just because of that matchup is so favourable there against the poor Titans.
Yeah. And just quickly on Sammy Walker, I'm pretty keen on him as well. I really like some of the news that was coming out of the Roosters side. Sammy Walker was talking about his connection with DCE, and he said that his quote was that we both have the freedom to roam anywhere. I won't be stuck on one side of the field. As a footballer, I can't do that. And DCE is very similar as well. So I really like that news that they're both keen to just sort of play both sides of the field and get the ball in their hands as much as possible. I think that's just going to be, a bit of a godsend there for Sammy Walker. The question marks obviously are, can he stay healthy for a whole season? Hopefully for his sake he does, and for our sakes as well, because in just those few games that he played last season, if we take out that 1 point game that he had, he had 6 games where he averaged 54 GDS points. That would have had him third in averages for halves. So if we can get that again, I think it's going to be an elite season for Sammy Walker.
Absolutely, mate. He's put on some size as well. So a bit of a bigger body, going to be better in contact and hopefully not have, some of those contact injuries that he's had in the past. And Cherry Evans wants to prolong his career as well. He knows he's got such a talented guy alongside him in the halves. And that trial just showed that Cherry Evans wants to do anything he can to get Sammy Walker involved. And hopefully that's a sign of things to come. This will be Sam Walker's team. It won't be Cherry Evans's team. He'll just play his role. I think he'll kick well. Cherry Evans will. So Walker might not get as many points with the boot. But I think it's just going to open up entirely for him in terms of the attack sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Alrighty. Hopefully we've given you a couple to choose from, obviously pairing with Nathan Cleary as well. Let's move on to the centres. And look, this is where, again, we've got our backs, and the backs are made up of 2 centres, 2 wingers, and a fullback that are on field. Then we can play a combination of any 2 on the bench as well. Generally for us, we look at upside here and we go for a couple of extra fullbacks on our bench. But there's every opportunity, if you can find a really good matchup for a centre or a winger, that you do play them. We just tend to think that there's a bit more upside and a bit more consistency from our fullbacks. That's why we play them on the bench. Obviously, with our centres, some coaches would have already played Val Holmes, maybe even the Stephen Crichton as well. So you might be looking at 1, maybe 2 centres, depending on what your makeup is. Obviously, we lock in Herbie Farnworth in pretty much every one of our teams, as well as the Sunday Showdown. From there, Stu, who are you looking at? Is it someone like Kale Iro? Is it someone like Garrick potentially that has that goal-kicking upside? Or even maybe Nick Meaney, who's found himself on the wing again for the Storm? Where are you looking?
Yeah, the Meaney one's interesting, but no, it'll be a no for me. He obviously got plenty of points through tackles and run meters. He's going to be relying on the sort of kick return meters, and he's not going to have much of a floor there with tackle numbers. I want to see what happens with the Storm first and how things go with Sua Fa'alongo at fullback, a bit different to the tried and tested Ryan Pappenhausen. Mate, I'm happy to cut press fast forward for the centres, since there's honestly not too much to talk about. I think you nailed it. The standout is Herbie Farnworth. I think just like Nathan Cleary, if you own a Nathan Cleary card, if you own a Herbie Farnworth card, you're going to want to put him into your side. And I think Kale Iro is the second best option by a long, long way. And there's a big gap. There's daylight before the likes of Staggs, Garrick, Meaney, Jesse Ramian, maybe a few other blokes. But look, I think they're the 2 absolute standouts, and not just because of matchups. The matchups are wonderful, but they just perform so well. They performed so consistently well all of last season. Getting off them now after round 1, just before you even see them play in round 1, I think is going to be a pretty big decision for some coaches. Look, if it pays off for you, well done. You can come in to the live show next Wednesday night and gloat and say, I told you so. I can't believe you played Herbie and Iro. But I don't think there'll be too many people joining us in the comment section next week to say that. I think there'll be a lot of people on both of those 2 guys, and those 2 guys are going to reward coaches pretty handsomely. Yeah,
definitely. Kale Iro averaging 44 GDS points in base and power last season. With that upside of attack, obviously we saw his 9-game try-scoring streak just before he got injured.
Yeah.
Returned from that injury, didn't score a couple of tries, and then was able to finish off with 2 in pretty tough matchups as well in those final series. So, yeah, I expect big things from Kale Iro again. Even with Ronnie Muatalo out, I still think Stone Street has plenty of experience there as well. And obviously the big news for the Sharks is that Sione Katoa has been named as well. He was sort of a 50-50, so I think it should be wheels up for a lot of Sharks players. Already, as you said, fast forward, centres are super easy. Herbie Farnworth, Kale Iro. Let's jump into a wingers. And again, Kiraz was highly owned, so it's likely that you're only going to really be looking at 1 winger. For me, the interesting one on that list is Sua Fa'alongo. And we talk about those out-of-position players that we love each and every week for GameDay Squad, and he's another one. He's listed as a winger in GameDay Squad, but he's obviously got that number 1 jersey from the Storm. Because of that man that won't be named vacating that number 1 jersey there. There's a host of changes, obviously, as well as Ryan Pappenhausen for their round 1 team. Ali Katoa is not going to be there. It's going to be really interesting to see how they go. They've obviously got that unreal record in round 1 matches of never losing. They also come up against the Eels, who they in themselves have just won the pre-season competition, the pre-season challenge. So they'll be on a bit of a high as well, with plenty of expectations into the season. So it should be a really good matchup. Interesting as well, these two teams faced in round one of last season. So it's just quite interesting that there's a couple of games like that as well, actually. Look, the Eels allowed 46 GDS points to fullbacks last season, sort of putting them in the top half of the competition. They weren't amazing in terms of a fullbacks matchup, but they weren't horrible either. We didn't see Sewer at fullback last season at all, but if we go back to 2024, he had 4 games there, and he averaged 55 GDS points in that fullback role. We obviously know he's quite a bit smaller than a lot of other blokes on the field. We don't quite know what that relationship's going to be like with Hughes, with Grant, with Munster. But look, even though he's small, he's really quick. He's so explosive. He can break tackles for fun. Look, there was games where he played 80 minutes across his career. He's averaging 5 tackle breaks in each of those games, where he's averaging 80 minutes on the park. Majority of those are in that fullback role. So look, he's got some base and power in him. There's plenty of upside, and the fact that Storm never lose. I think I'm starting to come around to playing Suafailongo. Is that someone as well that you're pretty keen on, or are we just going to go for a pretty stock standard Brian To'o pairing our Jacob?
Yeah, definitely glad I played Jacob Carraz. I'm sure a lot of coaches will be, so that they don't have to pick 2 from this lot, like the centres. Yeah. Not very exciting, not a lot of enticing options. Suafailongo is a pretty decent, pretty not necessarily risky pick, but a pick with plenty of upside that probably isn't going to hurt you too much if you get it wrong and he goes a bit quiet. But yeah, that round 1 record is unreal. The Storm put on 56 points against the Eels in round 1 last year, and I think they were 44-0 up at halftime. So Ryan Pappenhausen scored 2 tries in the first half last year. Sorry, I should have mentioned his name. But look, if the Storm come out red hot like they do most seasons, Suafailongo is great close to the line. He's got some dangerous footwork. He's so good from set plays, like those scrums 10 or 20 metres out. It just fully set up for him, where he can just burn someone on their outside or get a nice simple try assist because someone on the outside wants to jam in because they don't trust their inside man. Those are the occasions where the Storm will set up opportunities for him to succeed. I don't think they're going to rely on him too much, sort of, either 10 metres either side of the halfway line, where Ryan Pappenhausen sort of got involved a little bit more. That'll happen throughout the season a lot more. I think it'll just be sort of stock standard stuff with both Hughes and Munster coordinating a lot of the attack with a couple of set plays for Sewer close to the line. But look, he only needs one or two of those per match to get a really big score, because he can break those 2 or 3 tackles and score a try. He doesn't need too much of a gap to make something happen. So because of that, there is that upside. He's playing fullback as a winger. Even if you get it wrong, he'll still probably base it, mid-20s. And look, there's been plenty of games where Brian To'o, Jacob Carraz, Nawangani Tuase, they've all scored in the 20s because they haven't found the try line. If anything, there's just a little bit of safety because Sewer's going to get his hands on the footy a little bit more frequently. Worth the gamble. Will it pay off? I'm not certain. I don't think it's a slam dunk. But in saying that, To'o or Nawangani Tuase, they're no slam dunks either. Given Nawangani Tuase obviously needs to score to go well. I think he averaged 48 with 1 try per game, and To'o almost matched him with less than half of his tries as well. So yeah, winger position's pretty tough. Jacob Carraz is the GOAT. He'll be playing in our sides fairly frequently. Give me Sewer with the matchup against the Eels.
Yeah, nice. I like it. Alrighty, let's move on to our fullbacks. We obviously, like I said, we have reduced the wheel spins. We're going to leave those, and we'll do those off stream. We might, like I said, get a Discord stage happening. So if you aren't on Discord yet, make sure you head over to the GameDay Squad Discord. There's plenty happening over there. Heaps of fun. There's lots of trades as well, and there's heaps of opportunity to get up on the Discord stage just to open some packs. All right, let's have a look at some fullbacks. And look, by the look of a lot of the messages on Discord, heaps of coaches looks like they went with Scotty Drinkwater, and they were pretty disappointed, especially just as he went off. I think he was on -2 when he went off the field with that rib cartilage injury before getting that needle and going back on. Fortunately, I was in one of the other camps where coaches were rewarded by taking the risk with Kalen Ponga. A lot of coaches seem to do that as well. So it probably means if we did either of those options, there's probably only 2 players here from that list of sort of 5 or even 6 that we could talk about that I think it could be elite upside. There's obviously one big name there that we've got on screen that is probably an avoid now. Talk to us about probably the likelihood of not playing Keanu Kinney.
Yeah, really disappointed for Kinney, given the news of Jaden Campbell. Look, those two are the future of the Titans from an attacking perspective. They just form an incredible combination, and they just keep ripping in for 80 minutes. And this was the big bounce back season for Keanu Kinney after that dangerous neck injury. He came back at the end of last season, didn't do a lot, but in the test matches at the end of the year, he just reminded us just how busy he is and how he can rack up points so quickly. So excited to roll him into the round 1 team. And yeah, we lose Jaden Campbell. I don't think there's enough appealing Kinney now without a reliable halves player like Campbell to create some space for him and get the Titans into attacking positions. So for me, there are 3 names on that list, which I'm pretty confident in. It'll be Teddy, it'll be the Hammer, and then it'll be Reece Walsh just ahead of Dylan Edwards, despite them matching up with each other on Friday night. Yeah, Devo for Kinney. Devo that I played drinking in a team or 2, but it's Teddy Walsh and Hammer. Gee, I thought Hammer was going to be my big pod. Had a spot open for him in every team, given a lot of people were sort of thinking Trey Fuller there would be named at fullback, so people wouldn't want to play Hammer. If he was named in the centres, I think Hammer will be pretty popular if the sun's out in Brizzy on Sunday. I think he's in for a big game because you've got some numbers there, don't you, that back up just how bad the Bunnies are defending against fullbacks.
Oh, 100%. They were one of our go-tos, I think, last season for the fullback matchup up against the Bunnies. They were pretty infamous allowing those points to fullbacks, averaging 60 GDS points to the position that had them way out in front as the best matchup for us to target for fullbacks. And obviously, like you said, Hammer's got that number 1 jersey. Should be a good game on Sunday. Perfect for the FantasyBros Sunday Showdown as well. But then also the full round, the full slate of games. These 2 teams matched up last season as well in round 1. So another round 1 repeat. He scored 61.6 in that game, in that first matchup. So I expect something similar again, especially if, like you said, the sun's out. The best part I think about that, that score that the Hammer had throughout all of his last season, that he was able to find heaps of base and power, and then also was able to cross the line so many times. So for me, that 61.6 was one of the only times where he didn't actually cross the line. So it was all just base and power in that. So if we see a try that he might score up against the Bunnies there, I think that 61 turns into something way higher. So I was also thinking it was going to be a bit of a cheeky pod with probably the Teddy Walsh-Edwards combination being quite popular, but maybe not so if we both had the same idea. That my then absolute pod of the round is going to be Tom Trbojevic. And obviously with all point of differences, there is inherent risk baked into that. So we've got to take that and consider that when we're making this play. And there's obviously a whole lot of question marks there. The first one, the spine. There's a whole sort of new spine outlook there. The whole forward pack itself doesn't look great as well. It's not really an ideal forward pack for a lot of go forward. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. But then that halves pairing of Fogs and Brooks, with Brooks putting his hand up to say, look, I'll play hooker as well. That doesn't fill me with a whole lot of confidence. We might not see Turbo get the ball as much, but the other thing as well, the Raiders matchup looks to be pretty tough. The Raiders restricted opposition fullbacks last season to only 35 GDS points. But for me, we zoom in on just Tommy Trbojevic and we have a look at how he goes against the Raiders. He absolutely thrives against them, averaging 58.6 GDS points across 9 games in his career. That score is boosted by 12 tries across those 9 games. There's only one game that he has had in his whole career against the Raiders where he hasn't scored. I think there was a game where he had a hat trick, a game where he set up 3 tries as well. So I'm sort of banking on maybe a double-digit running meters, maybe up to 200. Triple-digit running meters, maybe up to 200 running meters, 5 tackle breaks. If he gets a try on top of that, I think it's going to be an absolute pod play for sure. So yeah, I'm keeping an eye on that, and it might just come down to that last spot of, do I play Walsh with the potential risk of his downside of maybe sort of his first 5 games not being ideal across the last couple of seasons? or do I play the risky turbo? And so that's probably the question marks for me. It's does Walsh get his hands on the ball enough where he's going to score that big score like we saw at the end of last season, where majority of those games where he scored that 100, it didn't include Adam Reynolds in the side. So that's going to have question marks around it as well. And then the other thing for Reece Walsh is got the upside of playing against the Panthers, who were also in their own right pretty good at allowing points to fullbacks. So there's a lot of question marks there for me. At this stage, I'm going to play safe. I'm going to play the Teddy Walsh and a combination, but there's just a little bit of sneaking suspicion that I might get a turbo into a couple of my sides as well. We'll have to wait to see.
Geez, that's a massive call for round one with the pack that they have. I think they'll be kicking from the 30-yard line more often than not. So Fogarty's going to get 1,000 kick meters this season just because their pack's got no go forward. New combinations, a halfback on the bench that needs to be used but won't be used effectively enough. I think Manly are going to find it going pretty tough at the start of the season. They're my prediction for a really low finish. It wouldn't surprise. Bottom four, early call, wooden spoon. Certainly wouldn't surprise either. I can't get to Tommy in round one. You're spot on about Reece Walsh with his matchup against Penrith Panthers. They were comparable with Souths for a lot of last season, not just 1 or 2 games, but probably 10 or 20 games. The margin separated a little bit. I think the Panthers were still averaging over 50 to fullbacks come season's end. When you think, Panthers, we can't play any attacking players against them. It was the fullbacks that really shined week after week after week, regardless of who it was. I'm sure someone like Will Kennedy even got a decent score at some point against the Penrith Panthers. So Walsh is going to make his errors, but look, he's so electric. We saw what he can do. Yeah, the Adam Reynolds factor will play a role, but it's round one. I had Drinky in a couple of my sides. I need someone that's got a massive ceiling. Reece Walsh certainly has it. He's proven time and time again, and the Panthers give it up. So, yeah, look, I don't mind that for a shout in round one.
Yeah, and look, we've got a really quick question before we finish off here. Luke Skip has asked, would you rather fade Walsh or Teddy? I think for me, it's fading Walsh. We just have to go back to his -9 GDS points earlier in the season, last season. I think round 2 or 3 it was, where pretty much everyone played him. I think for me, that's my concern, is that he usually starts seasons pretty poor and then sort of builds into the season. And especially with Adam Reynolds there, I think it just takes away a lot of that sort of first receiver ball that he was getting for him to score all of those points. So for me, I'll be fading Walsh if I was going to fade either of them. Are you in that same camp?
Yeah, if you could only play one of them, play a guy that's not going to, doesn't have a likelihood of ending up in the negatives. Walsh certainly does. Much higher ceiling than Teddy last season, but Teddy will just get the job done. So you've probably got that sort of 40 to 70 range maybe for Teddy, but you've got a -7 to 127 for Reece Walsh. So, yeah, read into that what you will. Safety Teddy. If you're a bit of a gambling man, look, want a bit of upside. Reece Walsh against the Penrith Panthers Friday night will be looking pretty fun. Mel's just said she only has a bronze hammer for the Sunday showdown. Yeah, absolutely, Mel. He's an absolute lock, and we'll be probably wanting to put a little bit of salary in him, given that that we think he's got plenty of upside. Not only did Luke Skipper play Braden Burns as well, but unfortunately he said he played Drinky too. Slightly helped out by the Ponga, so that's nice. He's only got that one fullback spot left, and I think he'll want to go safe there with Teddy. But it'll be a tough watch for him Friday night if he does fade Reece Walsh. Let us know what you're going to end up doing, Skip, and we'll be praying for you, bro.
Yeah, let us know what you're doing, Skip, and I'll do the opposite because it looks like that first round for you just hasn't quite gone the way. No, I'm just kidding, mate. Yeah, look, Teddy's got plenty of upside. Go with Teddy for sure. Alrighty, we're not going to have a consensus team this week. Look, plenty of players have been used already from Vegas with that lockout, so we will definitely get a consensus team next week for everyone to make sure that they can follow along, potentially the Control C, Control V there. Look, but if we are talking about salary and salary pods, I think definitely someone like Haas, Cleary, Herbie Farnworth, and even James Tedesco, I think definitely get some salary on them in those sort of the contender competitions. If you've got the golds of those, I would definitely look into play them in a lot of those competitions for sure. Alrighty, let's get into BroDown ShowDown. If you are new to the Fantasy Bros format, we have an awesome competition here where we have the BroDown ShowDown where Stu and I go head-to-head We pick 3 players from 3 positions that we select pre the live going to air. We make those decisions, and then to keep it really exciting, whoever comments on the video and gets it right, they go in the draw to win some pretty cool packs and prizes as well. Look, a lot of players, a lot of coaches jumped on the back of Stu's selection of Marnie, Fletcher Sharp, and Drinkwater. And I think even one person said that you would win 3-0, Stu. But I think they just might have got that completely wrong, because Cookie, Galvin, and Ponga just absolutely killed it for me. So if you commented Dyl on those shows, on that show, you are now in the draw to win an awesome prize. So let me bring up, spin the wheel. Hopefully this one's a little bit smaller, so it should be a little bit easier to load that up on the screen. There are 4 people in the running for this. We've got Coach Stephen, we've got Mel's Misfits, Aaron Taylor, and my man, Sif Hanger. So I'm going to spin that wheel. We're going to open a pack, and let's hope we can give away some really good cards. Here we go. Good luck, everyone.
Let's do it.
That. Away we go. Awesome.
Yes, nice.
Haven't seen him in the chat, so hopefully he gets over here soon to see that. Alrighty, and then on screen, I'm just going to refresh. We know what the pack's like sometimes. I've got a rare Queensland versus New South Wales pack that I'm going to open. What we're going to do is I won 3-0. Stu is going to pick a row that is going to be Sif Kangers. He's going to get cards from this pack. And because I won, I'm going to have no accountability, get in trouble if we get any poor selections. So, Stu, you better pick some good cards there for Sif Kanger.
I'll make sure that Sif Kanger gets a couple of good cards if I pick some duds for him, because 3-0 whitewash to start the season is not good for me. But a lot of viewers will quickly forget that the last 2 months of BroDown ShowDown, it's a bit boring, wasn't it? Because way out in front, and it lost a little bit of oomph. So you're up early, Dyl. Bit of pressure on you. Can you go 26-0? That is what the people will be asking.
Yes, let's hope so. Alrighty, Stu, we've got 9 cards on screen, potentially a State of Origin card in there somewhere. Which row are we giving to Sif Kanger? Top, middle, or bottom?
Can I do a diagonal one?
Diagonal. Okay, yeah, love it. Are we going
diagonal
right to left?
Diagonal right, middle, top right to bottom left.
All right, we've got a Jacob Little goal. We're a Jacob Carraz goal. There we go.
Yes, I knew I'd get something good.
Lockie Hubner. There we go. A couple of decent cards.
Ooh.
I think Little's going to have a great season as well once he's back. I feel like he could really explode and maybe even win that starting spot there. Alrighty, let's have a look at the rest of the cards, and let's see if maybe we can get something else to Sif Kanger instead of that Lockie Hubner. We've got a Leka Halasima. We've got an IPAP gold and a Trent Liero gold as some of the other cards there. I'm a bit upset about that Leka. That's super disappointing news that he's starting from the bench. But all good. Sif Kanger, some unreal cards there for you to start off the season. Great work. Well done, mate.
Have we still got you there, Dyl? Or is that wheel cooked your computer?
Mate, I have no idea. Can you hear me? I can't see anything. I think I'm cooked.
I'm hearing.
Mate,
thanks
I'm
for
not
sitting through
again.
the technical difficulties. Just too many people got involved, and it completely fried the computer. Look on screen, you will be able to see the rest of round 1 for BroDown ShowDown. We've spun the wheel again off camera. We've got the 3 positions in the hooker, the winger, and the centre position. For redemption this week, I've gone Blake Brayley, Suafa Alongo, and Herbie Farnworth. Dyl has Harry Grant, Brian To'o, and Kale Iro. So a lot of the guys that we've spoken about tonight, which way are you guys going to lean? I don't think many people have learned their lesson, Dyl. The comments are rolling in for Stu. We've got Michael Cossie, Mel, Skip, They're all Stews at the moment. Look, guys, if you want some free cards, you just got to type 3 letters, and it doesn't start with an S, a T, or a U. It's a D, a Y, and an L if last week is anything to go by. I appreciate the support for the bounce back. But yeah, not a good start by yours truly. Have we got you back there, Dyl?
Yes, I think I'm back, and I think what you're doing is you're just deflecting here so that more people vote for you. But what's going to happen is one person's going to vote for me, and then they're going to end up winning. Oh, thanks, Tracy. Tracy's just put in Stu hands down. All right. Thanks for the confidence, Trace. Good on you, mate. Oh, I love that.
May as well not even play then, hey?
Oh, man. I'm just going to give up. I'll just take my one win and I'll disappear. Alrighty, that is it. We've probably gone a little bit over time. The AFL boys are up next. They are kicking off their first live show for the season, 7:30, right here on the Fantasy Bros YouTube channel. So if you are an AFL fanatic as well as an NRL fan, make sure you stick around, tune in for them. As well, we have a stacked lineup. We press on. Sunday Showdown coming to you live from 2:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. We have the great man himself, Longy from the Casual Athlete, joining us for a big Sunday Showdown. That's going to be unreal. That is going to be a perfect game. Lovely Sunday Arvo. Please join us for that. Don't forget to follow all of our socials. That is YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple, everywhere that you get your content. Make sure you're joining us there. Don't forget to also, if you are brand new to the GameDay Squad, use our promo code FBRL26 when you're signing up. I cannot wait for this weekend. The prime time into the full slate of shows, and then the Fantasy Bros Sunday Showdown on Sunday. It will be unreal. Stu, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone for bearing with my technical difficulties. We might give the reins to Stu next week for that. Have a good one, guys. Good luck this weekend, and we'll see you Sunday. Cheers, Stu. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.